Hello there, it's me, Overflow, and today we have another episode. So I've climbed out of my not uploading hole because I just didn't want to upload anything because there's really nothing, and I don't want to make like garbage videos that I was making before, so I get like uploads in. So that explains why I didn't upload anything for like 7 years. But today we've got actually something pretty nice stacked up, and I'll also be covering the Fedora 37 release because I am using Fedora. So if you're interested in that, you'll be able to see it when Fedora 37 comes out stable on the desktop. But today we're not covering Fedora, we're covering Ubuntu. So here I have the Ubuntu 22.10 release, and what we're going to do is we're just gonna go over what's new for Ubuntu while I wait for the Ubuntu to download. And then we'll stick it in a VM, and then we'll see how it performs. So, I just wanted to do this because, maybe my computer sucks, it's pretty old, but maybe, it'll just die while I try and use OBS and do a do a GNOME boxes. So, I'm just going to make this so I can stretch out the content just a little bit. So, let's read this article from Ubuntu, or Canonical, not Ubuntu, whoops. So there's toolchain updates. So quick things, 22.10 is not an LTS release. That means you'll get support for 9 months and just 9 months. So that's kind of disappointing. You get some basic package updates, which is expected. And then microcontrollers and embedded displays for the Raspberry Pi, enterprise management tooling. That'd be nice if you could lock out certain features. Because, I went to my local Costco today, and they had this kiosk that ran Ubuntu on it, and I thought, that was super cool, wow, they're using Ubuntu for, kiosk tasks, instead of some, weird Windows 10 image, or just some random Linux distro. And the thing was, they were running the kiosk window in AngularJS, and it was just straight up Ubuntu. They didn't full screen it. It was just a windowed AngularJS window repeatedly showing the Intel Evo branding. I thought that was interesting, but then I was bored. I started fooling around on it, and you could open the terminal, and then you could type rm-rf/star. So I of course didn't do that. I'm a good person. I wouldn't do that to Costco, but I thought that was interesting because if you are using Ubuntu for those types of purposes, maybe having more Chrome OS style, more Windows style management tooling so you can lock out, the terminal. So stupid people like me wouldn't run rm-rf on Costco kiosk computers, or just lock out, some things that you would do if you wanted to add Linux to your school administration environment, which I think would be super positive. One of the main reasons why I don't think Linux is being used in schools is there's just so much things that you could do to bypass filters compared to something like Chrome OS, which I have not found a lot of ways to bypass filters. When developer mode is locked out, there's except for some very obscure hardware hacks for old Chromebooks, there's nothing that you could do about it. So the ISO is finished downloading, but I want to read the rest of the article to you guys. So improved desktop performance, blah blah blah. Main thing is it gets the Ubuntu version of GNOME 43. That means you'll still get the Ubuntu panel and whatever, but you'll just have GNOME 43. It'll be built on GNOME 43 instead of GNOME 42. And these are all GNOME 43 features, and it switches to Pipewire by default, which is great. So now, Fedora users won't be able to make fun of Ubuntu users for using old, outdated specs. And then it has Linux 5.19, which is incredibly disappointing to me because Intel Arc GPUs, their drivers are or Linux 6.0 and above, which means that many people who get an Arc GPU and they think, oh, I want to try Linux, they install Ubuntu because it's the largest distro out there, and the latest Ubuntu release doesn't support their GPU, and Intel has made no further effort to support 5.19 and below. So that'll be really disappointing. I was hoping that they'd have 6.0 ready, because 6.0 just brings AMD CPU performance improvements. Intel Arc GPU. So that was really disappointing to not see Linux 6.0, but like I'm not the one to explain. Fedora has been kicking the Linux 6.0 can down the road for about like 5 weeks while we wait for 37. So next is Steam Snap on Ubuntu. So we're getting more snaps. I personally don't like snaps, but we'll try it out. Just remember that this is going to be a virtual machine, so the performance is not going to be great. We'll enable EFI, give it 4 gigs of RAM, and yeah, so we're going to go through the installation process, but most likely I'll just cut halfway, and then we'll come back when it's installed, because I really do want to see if they changed anything about the installer. So that looks like the same thing, and honestly, for most of the time, I'm just kicking the proverbial can down the road as I try and extend this content longer. Okay, it seems to be doing something. We want to see Plymouth do something. Well, Fedora has this really sick Plymouth thing where every boot sequence is integrated into it, and you get to see like the cool like loading logo of the Fedora. I just guess you don't get that. I wanted to like mention the new Ubuntu logo again, but I already did that in my last release, and I don't think it would be fair to do it. I do like the fact that they have a startup jingle for their installer. That's kind of cool. So I think we're just going to try Ubuntu, and then we can open up the installer later. This does look absolutely terrible because I have no drivers installed. Let me okay, it automatically did something for GNOME boxes. It's terribly laggy because I'm in a VM and I don't think there are drivers. So, you know what, I'm not going to install it because I honestly have no effort. So we're just going to play around in the live environment. So, of course, we can install Ubuntu, Firefox, Thunderbird Mail, Files, LibreWolf Writer, Ubuntu Software, and Help. I want to look at Firefox. So the very advantage. Oh, that was a lot snappier than I expected for the snap, because I remember people really complaining about how slow the snap was, but now it's almost instant. Like, dare I say, faster than Fedora on a first boot. Fedora has this really weird thing where if you boot your computer the first time, no matter like if you have an NVMe SSD, I've experienced a little bit on Arch Linux, but basically you boot up, you log into your desktop, everything's fine up there, like it's super snappy up there, but then you try and open any application like Firefox or Nautilus, and then it just like sits there, it spins for like a good minute or so, and then it opens it, and then after that everything else is just fast. Something I've been experiencing on Fedora and a little bit on Arch Linux, but it is kind of pleasant that Snap doesn't have that sort of thing. Maybe because it just chooses to preload it when the system's booting or something. But then here we have the new quote-unquote file export. Then this thing is just GNOME 43, and you'll get it on any GNOME 43 distro. But I do think it's pretty cool, and the animations are awesome. I do like these file icons. I think they look very good. So I love this wallpaper. It's like very minimalistic. So let's take a look at the settings, because there are some new things in here. I think everything else here is just standard. Like additional drivers, that's an Ubuntu thing, but most of that's standard. So we have our appearance tab and the custom color theming here for your icons, which I think is pretty cool that it changes your file icons as well. That's pretty cool. I'm going to change it back to the default one because I do like this gradient. So then we have this, and then this, which is not related, but it's still very cool. I think these wallpapers are great. I love this wallpaper. It's like very minimalistic. Then you have the dark mode toggle, just like always. Oh yeah, I forgot to read to you the version number. It's Kinetic Kudu. That was really stupid of me. So, anyways, so I'm gonna leave it on that. And then there's also the GNOME 43 panel, which allows you to toggle dark and light mode. That's a GNOME 43 standard thing. I really don't want to explain many things that are just like GNOME 43 standard, because it's boring, and I'm gonna do it again in Fedora 43, and you guys are gonna cry. So I think that's like all the new things. This release was a pretty minor release, so if you see on name-r, we have 5.19.0.21, which sucks because it's not 6.0, but it's not like I have anything better. So I have 5.19.16-200. So Ubuntu is still a little bit behind Fedora, but we're still behind Arch Linux. So I don't think there's anything else interesting that I want to go over here. Let's look at the software manager to see if it's gotten a little less stupid over the years. So I personally still don't like apt. Oh, it's the GNOME one. Huh. Oh, that's a surprise. I thought it still used their own package manager, like GUI package manager, but I guess they just switched to the GNOME one. But that aside, I still like apt. I use it's called Nala whenever I use a Debian based distro, because it's just quite a lot faster than apt. And I don't think there's anything interesting. It comes with LibreOffice Writer, just like standard. All these, it's pretty standard. I forgot to go over the new settings panel called Ubuntu Desktop. So we'll play around with this, and then I think that's going to be the end of this video. So size, you can make it small. Oh, these are desktop icons. How fancy. Whoops. Wow. Let's make them tiny. Large. I don't know why it's organized in this way. It's small, normal, large, and tiny. I think it should be tiny, small, normal, and large, but whatever. Let's go back, put it back. New icons, this is whatever. Show personal folder. They should call it the home folder, not the personal folder. Auto hide the dock. So when we shove a window into it, this happens. That's pretty cool. Panel mode, this screen extends to the edge. I like this a lot better because it just takes less space than it would. Icon size, yeah, whatever. Oh, that changes the desktop icon size slightly. Show on primary display. Let's put it on the bottom, and then configure dock behavior. So show on. This just looks like dash to dock and dash to panel, but slightly more fancy. Notifications, search, multitasking. They turned off hot corners by default. Whoops, didn't mean to activate that hot corner. Okay, I think that's actually. Oh, click on the about window. So we're gonna show this about window. It uses X11 by default, which is sad. GNOME version not available. I don't know why that's happening. It should know it's 43, but device name, Ubuntu memory. Yep, that seems normal. I still don't like that new logo. Why is it like up to that tall? A lot of blank space. But anyways, that's going to be this video of me covering Ubuntu 22.10. I hope that was interesting enough for you to not immediately unsubscribe. And I'll see you in the next video, which should be Fedora 37. That's maybe October 25th if they don't keep dragging on the release. But with that, I thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you next time.